Welcome everybody to our regularly scheduled BrightID AMA community call. We do these general topic AMAs once a month now on the fourth Thursday of the month. So if you go to the registration link, the tinyurl.com/brightid-AMA, you will do the right thing for you and sign you up for all the upcoming community calls. But this is ours for April. We've been talking about next week, possibly, or not next week, 2 weeks from now, having, we have special guests on the second Thursday of every month, and we are talking to the folks at Give Praise, which is an interesting tool for just rewarding, kind of giving little tiny rewards to people who participate in chat and Discord and stuff like that. That's kind of what it is. And just recognizing people, just a way to give like happy feelings and maybe a little bit of money. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but they'll explain it to us in a couple of weeks. So anyways, that's something that's live on the BrightID Discord. I haven't used it much myself, but it's there. So we can talk about anything we want. This is general topic AMA. So if anybody here has a question, we can start there. You can type it in or you can raise your hand and ask your question. We can start with that. Otherwise, Philip and I can just talk forever about this stuff because we've been thinking about it for years. So
I'll note that the newest Gitcoin round just kicked off yesterday. A lot of great projects across the entire ecosystem. Everyone should go check out Gitcoin. We've got a number of projects sort of in our ecosystem that are also seeking grants. BrightID has one, Aura has one, and Unitap will have grants up there, among many other great grants. But big fans of Gitcoin, and encourage people to do it. We will note, so this year, this round, they're moving over to their new Allo protocol, and there's some growing pains involved in that. So there's all these different rounds. Unfortunately, you need to check out of each one separately. So we think that may be hard for a lot of people and gas expensive. So we dream that in the future, Gitcoin will, and their coding wizards over there will figure out ways to streamline that for their users, such that they can check out once across all those, but we're not there yet. So
yeah, thanks for that shout out.
On mainnet for each round individually.
Yeah, we have two well, actually several, like you said, in the ecosystem. If you look at our Discord announcement, there's links. So if you go on the Discord announcement, you'll see a link to our BrightID. It's in the Web3 open source software round. And then Aura, which we talk about frequently in here, is in the civil resistance round. And then there's also Unitap, which we talk about in here from time to time, which is in the Web3 community and education round. So 3 different rounds, 3 different projects related to BrightID. So yeah, check those out.
For OneHive, which BrightDAO uses, has a grant in the open source round.
Nice.
And no fun zone, trying to build community learning tools, has a grant in the education round. Yeah, so it looks like we have a question.
Okay, yeah, so we don't make connections in here, but if you're having trouble getting the role, is that the case, Bryn? Are you having trouble getting the Discord role? So this is not a connection room. Okay, so if you're having trouble getting if you just want to make connections, you can go to meet.brightid.org, and there's a whole bunch of different times. Just show up at any one of those times. They're in different languages too, and you'll find some people to make connections with. So that's the best place to make connections if you don't know anyone yet using BrightID. And then as far as getting the Discord role, you have to be verified to get that. And then you should just be able to follow the instructions. There's instructions in, let's see, what is it called now? It's changed names. Check meets bot. So I'll paste the link here for you. But this is what you do to get that role. I'm going to copy this message link and just paste it in here in the chat. If you follow this, follow the instructions in this message to get the role. If you run into any trouble following those instructions, then I would go to one of the community support channels in Discord and just show them any errors that you might have, and they'll help you through it. Yeah, no problem. Happy to help. Okay, welcome.
I also mentioned I noticed some that there had been something from Victor. Oh no, that was a couple days ago. Never mind. I was going to say there was an issue writing Discord bot, but that was days ago. It was the 20.
Okay, so it sounds like you asked a question and whoever was helping you didn't know. Okay, well, tag me in that question and I'll take a look. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, hey, Victor. This is Victor that we know and love. Well, one of them. There's another core team Victor. But hello, Victor. Good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. No, I looked into it a little bit, and I think the sponsorship that that was assigned went through successfully. So I think any problems would just be with BrightID itself, or with the connection itself, right?
Oh yeah, like the internet connection, connecting to BrightID nodes or something, you mean?
Or the verification.
Not having the verification, so not having enough connections.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't been to a BrightID meet yet, definitely go to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they might even be able to help solve your problem in that meet call if they have enough time. If it's not too crowded, you can often get support in one of those meet calls too. So yeah, you've got lots of people wanting to help. Okay, so let's see. Welcome people. We're doing a community call AMA. So if you have any questions or topics that you want, we're just talking about anything you want to talk about. We've talked about Gitcoin, how Gitcoin launched their round. I guess, was it Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. So it's been going for 2 days. And we've got several, check out the announcement in our Discord to see some interesting BrightID related projects and how to find them in Gitcoin. So this is a beta round. Expect some strange behavior possibly, but yeah, please check it out. Support projects that you like. Support our projects.
I will note that there's been meaningful improvement to Passport since the last round. I went through a much better process with Passport yesterday than
cool.
than I had ever had before.
That's really good news.
Yeah, it worked much smoother. I got a whole bunch of stamps like renewed by just like clicking a button. I didn't have lots of weird messages. I didn't have to take an action for each stamp. So while I'm sure there will still be issues, dramatic improvement from the last round. So
nice.
Yay for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that again tomorrow and having a better experience. Victor, since you're here, maybe we, unless other people have questions, feel free to drop a question in any time. But maybe we can talk about some of our ruminations about soulbound tokens and how those relate to BrightID. So what would you say our vision is for, like, from a user's perspective? What would the user experience be like for using an app that wants to use like a soulbound token for verification?
Yeah. I want to preface that I haven't gotten much sleep, so if I don't,
okay, and we're putting you on the spot.
that's why I don't even have my camera on. But no, it's okay. I think a lot of stuff is still a lot less is in the air, but a couple of the details might still be in the air. So
Mhm.
I don't know if I can give a
Yeah,
whole.
we don't have the full answers. We're still hashing it out, but it's fun to sometimes use this call as a time to ruminate on things that we want
Sure,
in the future.
sure,
Why we
yeah.
learn to always click record, even if we don't think we should, because we always go, oh man, we should have recorded that. There's good
Yeah.
stuff in there.
My gardeners are going pretty crazy outside. Can you guys hear it?
No, it's
Can't
the
hear a
noise
thing.
blocking's working.
Really?
Yeah. Can't hear
That's
anything
amazing.
other than your voice.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. All right, the technology. So yeah, the soulbound token, I think what we're so the goal of the soulbound token is that any service, specifically like Collabland and Guild XYZ, can check the balance of a address's NFT or token balance and determine that person is verified through that having that NFT. Couple of the things that we talked about, if I remember, it's been a bit, were like, how do we want to manage multiple addresses or recovery or things like that, which are, or and keeping it updated as well, uh, so that like an app can decide whether or not to accept the NFT or something like that. Uh, and a good example would be like if someone lost their BrightID or something like that, and then tried to get another NFT or something like that. So I think the solution, correct me if I'm wrong, that we kind of landed on was linking, like basically having an ERC 1155, which is like a multi-token model where you could have uh, essentially one token for multiple addresses that links each address to a single token. So if you make a signature with one address, it wouldn't, you couldn't double spend that token essentially.
Right.
Like double verify. Even if, as long as you connect it uh to the contract or to the token, right?
Yeah.
If you want to add more, uh you can do that. And the other thing I think we settled on was a time lock, or not a time lock, like using V6 instead of V5. Um,
No, I don't think we settled on that. But go on. I can discuss that, but what
yeah,
else did
yeah.
you say? I don't want to cut you.
Maybe I'm actually getting confused here. I think we were going to use V5, but have like a timestamp in the contract. So
Yes,
when you
that's
make
what.
the token, it has a attached time frame that it'll work for,
Yeah,
set
exactly.
set by the app or whatever, or by the person, and then you have to remint each time that you want to that the balance of is checked or something like that. I'm sorry, I'm a little tired.
No, that's fine.
But the
Okay.
idea was that you have to avoid double spending if you want to
Yeah,
support multiple addresses. And some sort of a timeout feature was probably going to work best.
yeah. So when you say multiple addresses, it's like for these soulbound tokens, uh, we're saying that um, so you can support multiple addresses, but you can't really transfer the token between addresses, right? So it's not like you could verify once with one address, then send your token to another address and verify that. That's so sending it around to different addresses, that's restricted, correct?
Right. You're more like linking, like let's say you wanted to add a new address for, let's say you lost the old one or something like that. You do something more akin to linking the address to the token than sending the token to the new
Right.
address, right? You're just
Right.
kind of linking it back. Exactly.
Yeah, so there's a rescue operation.
Yeah. And then what would happen is like uh you would as long as that token is within the time frame, you just burn that token when you used it essentially. right?
Yeah, and I'm not even sure that you would burn it. So here's my, so thank you for that. Thank you for saying what you were thinking or remembering. And let me tell you kind of my take on it. So we have you would have a bundle of tokens, and we talked about how we want to represent some common expiration periods with these tokens. So let's say that let's just, for simplification, let's just say that there's one verification called BrightID verification. So you could have your BrightID verification represented by a token, but then we have some common expiration times, like 1 month, 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, whatever we decide the common ones are that apps are going to want to use. And when you go and you get your bundle, so you go to a website, and the website should detect which apps you're using, and then it should know which tokens you're going to need. So like if you're using app 1 that has like a token that expires every month, then you'll get one of those. If you have an app that uses a token that expires every year, you'll get one of those, et cetera, et cetera. So ideally the user should just click one transaction per network, and that's actually another complication that we can talk about, but they just do one transaction, and that one transaction will refresh or mint, if they don't already have it, all of their tokens that they need for all of the apps that they're using. So they don't have to know like all the different expiration lengths that each app has. They don't have to know like which verification level it's using. This app will take care of it. It'll just come, and so basically if you ever get a message that says like this, like you try to use an app and it's like your BrightID verification has expired, or you don't have the right verification or something like that, this is like your one-stop place. You go there, you just click the button, it signs a transaction, you get all the verifications that you need for all your apps dropped in. And so again, this is just for the apps that want to do it based on a token like Guild or something like that. So you could use that one site to get verified for all the Discord servers that you want to be verified for, all the apps that are using tokens rather than querying the BrightID servers themselves. And the benefit to the apps is they have a no-code solution now for integrating with BrightID. So for like Guild XYZ, no one had to write any code. They just had to say, this is the token we're looking for. And then you go to that spot. We know that that's the token that they want. And if that's an app you're using, it'll mint that token among others. And then, so you get all the bundle of tokens that you need to work with any apps that you need that have the right expiration lengths. And also there's a rescue operation. If you, like we were talking about how you could have different addresses. If you were using like a certain address to use these different apps, and then you want to use a different one, then because you lost access or whatever reason, doesn't even need to be you lost access, just maybe you thought it was compromised, maybe you're just not using that one anymore, maybe you don't want to use it, whatever the reason, you can rescue your bundle of tokens into a different address. So does that sound okay so far, Victor? Are we sort of on the same page with that? Is that what you remember too?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then to go a couple steps further, because we've been having some conversations on Twitter and stuff also, to go a few steps further, what if you're using different networks? That's an interesting question. So what if some of your apps use Polygon, some of your apps use Gnosis chain, some of your apps use mainnet for this token, although I doubt that apps really use mainnet for things like that anymore. But let's say that you've got 3 different networks that your apps are using. This site should also simplify that for you. You're still going to have to sign 3 transactions, but it should bundle all your tokens for network A into one transaction on network A, all your tokens for network B into one transaction on network B, etc., for however many networks it detects that you're going to need. So it should just help you through that process of signing all the transactions you need to bring all your BrightID verifications up to date for any apps that that use tokens. So the benefit of this to users is that you may find that some app that you go to, you're already just automatically verified. You don't need to do anything. All you needed to do was at some recent point in time, go to that app and refresh, and you may find that it's using the same token that some other app was using. So you do nothing. Not that linking BrightID is hard. Usually all you have to do with something that doesn't use tokens is you just use your BrightID app to scan a QR, and then you're linked, and now you're using the app. So that's not hard. But in this case, you might have to do nothing. You just show up at the app. And this is kind of going along with the no code solution. The app didn't have to do any programming other than say, this is the token we want to use. Like, let's say it's Aura verification level bronze, and it needs to be within the last month or something like that. And that's what they want to use. They just say that that's what they want to use. If you have that token in your bundle, because in your bundle, you're going to get like all the verification levels that you have. You're going to get all the common expiration times in your bundle. And so as long as you have that one token in your bundle that they're looking for, then you're good to go. You don't have to do a single thing. So I think this simplifies things like joining a Discord server. It can just automatically detect, okay, you've got the token, cool. So yeah, so the benefit to users is minimal, but we still want to make it really easy for them to use this service. It's not really that much easier than the way we do it now for a user, but it can make app integration a lot easier for apps, and that's why we want to support this. Does that sound right to you, Victor?
Yeah, exactly. Like making Web3, like fitting in with the Web3 protocols essentially, and what people expect.
Yeah, because we're kind of like right now, BrightID, I mean, it always will be chain agnostic. We use any and all chains, but there's a lot of apps who are like, well, why can't it just be like an Ethereum token? Like that's what I would expect. And we're like, well, that's not exactly how we do it. You have to kind of like roll your own solution to do that. And we have like smart contract templates, but you have to deploy your own smart contract. You have to decide what the token's going to be, yada, yada. So instead of doing that, we just want to have like a ready to go solution on all different networks for all different verification types, all different common expiration lengths, so that an app, if they're using like a network that we already support and a expiration length that we already support and a verification level we already support, they just pick that combination that they want and they're good to go. So yeah, so hopefully that'll simplify things for apps and help with adoption, because once you figure out like, okay, all I've got to do is like pick which token I want to use, and I know how to check the balance of a token. That's all you need to do. So it helps with apps that understand how to use Web3. They understand how to use things like the graph and like web3.js or ethers.js. They understand how to use stuff like that, but they don't yet know how to use BrightID SDK, or how to query nodes or things like that, or even how to set up an app in our registry. Although they should still set up the app in the registry, but they don't even have to do that in this case, because our website can actually also sponsor users. That website that hands out the soulbound tokens can also sponsor users. So they could do like a very low, extremely low effort integration with BrightID just by saying like, this is the token we're looking for.
Yeah.
And then if they wanted to go a little bit further, they could register the app with BrightID, tell us like some maybe details that are even more specific to the app, like we want, like let's say it's ClearFund or something. They could say, well, we want the expirations to line up with our rounds, rather than being like expiring every month or something like that. So we can do more custom things for them if they approach us, but they could still use the tokens. And then the next step after that would be actually querying the BrightID nodes yourself and doing some advanced logic, like maybe you want to maybe requiring multiple verifications or something like that. So there's some more complicated things that you can do, but we want to start out really simple for apps.
Mhm.
And then on Twitter, we had a conversation about, I think it got brought up in some call, maybe it was the BrightID core team meeting a while back, that it's not a great experience for users. And this is something that Gitcoin Passport also suffers from. It's not a great experience for users if they have to use the same Ethereum address across apps, because it's kind of like, I mean, you could almost call it a fundamental human right to, have some privacy in your life and keep different circles of your life separate from other circles. Like I should not, my entire interaction with Web3 should not be bundled in, should not have to be forced to be bundled into one address. I should be able to have 5 different personas that do 5 different things, and I'm still one unique person behind those 5 personas. But if I want to keep them separate, I should be able to do that. And the apps that we use should not force us to merge everything. That's a bad user experience. So we want to help with that. And we've kind of been brainstorming how we can do that, because we want the app that we just described not to force people down that path. And so we need a way to allow people to link. And as we know, in the Soulbound API for BrightID, it keeps a history of all the addresses you've used. And that can be really helpful. Let's say that you've got an app, like Unitap. Unitap uses it. They recently switched back from Soulbound from Align Signatures back to Soulbound, because they realized that they wanted to track the behavior of the user over their lifetime in the Unitap app. So any address that you use with Unitap, any activity that you do in Unitap, it's all linked together by user, not by address. And so maybe that's appropriate for Unitap. But imagine if we have this solution with the Soulbound tokens, and now all of your activity on Unitap plus all of your activity on Gitcoin plus all of your activity anywhere is all linked together. All the addresses you use are all linked together, and that's not what we want to go for. So there was an interesting Twitter conversation talking about Sysmo, which is something they approached us like a year and a half ago or something, and we explored some integrations. It looks like they've made a lot of progress since then, and they've got something similar to like a secure data vault or an encrypted data vault that you can use. And that has the potential, from what I could tell, you take a bunch of like verifications from different places, different addresses, kind of put them into your data vault, and using zero knowledge proofs, it almost acts like a mixer to where you can get out something that says like, okay, you had these verifications. We're not going to expose any further which address it came from, but one of your addresses that you used in your data vault, and the outside world doesn't even know which addresses you're using in your data vault, had this verification. So therefore you have this verification, and now you can mint a new token into your new, into like some new address, wherever you want to use it. So that's some really nice technology that I think Gitcoin Passport and BrightID could both use to allow people to decide which addresses they want to expose and which addresses they don't want to expose to certain apps, while still being able to use multiple addresses. So, I mean, I looked at the technology, it looks pretty solid. It looked like this is not something we have to reinvent ourselves, which is great. So I think we should continue to explore that.
Yeah, I'll have to read some documentation on. I haven't even gotten a chance to dive in. It seems interesting, kind of like a data backpack kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but one that uses zero knowledge proofs so that no one else but you can see the data, that where the data is coming from that comes in, but you can still generate a proof that proves that you had it, that you had control over it.
Right.
So yeah, if you look up my recent tweets, you can see what I was saying about it.
Oh,
Yeah, but it should work just fine. I mean, I haven't actually tried to use it, but from the way that it's described in the documentation, it should work just fine as is to solve this problem. And so that, well, okay, so the good and bad is it's yet another thing that the user has to learn how to use, because it is self-sovereign, which means that just like having your own wallet and having your own keys, now you've got your own data vault with your own keys, and you've got to learn kind of how to manage that. So that's the downside of it. It's another piece of software that you have to learn. But the upside of it is now you get to be very particular about which apps you share things with. So I don't know, maybe Sysmo could turn into the data wallet that we've all wanted, because like a wallet in real life, that real life analog kind of has two pieces to it. You've got your money in it, and you've got your identity in it. And you can sort of imagine a world where there's a digital there where you have a digital wallet that does both. But you can also imagine a world where you have a different digital wallet for your identity and a different one for your money. And I kind of like that separation myself. BrightID has been very careful not to put money, not to like be a store of money, because that opens up a whole new like world of problems that you have to deal with when you're dealing with money. So I kind of like having those two realms separate. But let's say that Sysmo turns out to be the data wallet or the identity wallet credential wallet that we all want, and that'd be great, because we've been looking for that.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, because like we've seen other ones. Oh, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's anyways, we've seen a bunch of other ones. I was gonna say that I've seen some of the people from Sysmo in other projects, like, but I don't want to say like too much about that. You can look that up yourself. But I will say that over the years, we've seen a lot of projects. Like Uport was the first one I became aware of, and then there's just been a whole bunch of other ones, and none of them have really stuck in the way that something like MetaMask has, where it's like, yeah, this is the one that everyone's going to use, and this is one that we should make sure that we support. Every Web3 website has to make sure it supports MetaMask. There's not really like an agreed upon data wallet that Web3 sites need to support, but I think that hopefully we'll have one of those soon. Or hopefully there will be one reliable enough that that Web3 apps, the dApps, can say like, okay, yeah, we can kind of count on people having a data wallet. So let's require a data wallet to use our app. So that would be pretty cool if we could do that, because we would do that with BrightID if we could.
Yeah, I was thinking about this actually recently, and I kind of started hacking on it just out of pure like I can't fall asleep. Um, like has BrightID ever tried to do like a global recovery kind of situation where like you use a zero knowledge to essentially link like you can link like well any website to like one that you could pretty much get a message from or whatever to sign.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to do that where
So
like
if I understand you correctly, I think you're talking about like a multi-part recovery that's not just your friends. That could be like a service that has like much higher uptime.
I
So is that kind of what you're talking about for
actually I
sort of
think it's
like
simpler
for
than
like
that.
an alternate a more like an alternative recovery system?
So I don't want to get too into the detail just because I started hacking on it. So now I have this whole bit in my head right now. But I think it's so I don't even think you need a back end. I think what you could do is use like a V5 soulbound uh, uh, app called like Global Recovery or something like that, and
Uh-huh.
just have a user link uh, one of their context IDs from like Twitter or whatever as like a recovery app. And then you like instead of it being just a string, you could hash like a little blob of information. Like I would probably do like oh it's from Twitter, and then this is the ID that the Twitter ID, and then you could go to let's say any other Web3 app that wants to implement it, right? Like let's say I want to implement it in Govern, for example, so that I don't lose my data. I could like have some sort of React component that will open up a linking BrightID link, allow me to link Govern as not a recovery, but as a different type, as something that can be recovered, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would that be called? And then just check like let's say I lose my govern, I can click like a modal in the govern app that basically says, hey, let me use my Brad ID recovery apps that I have set, right? And that modal will just ask them to scan the Brad ID code. And then you go over to Twitter and you scan the Brad ID code. And it says, oh, this is the same Brad ID. So therefore, allow the app to be kind of recovered in a sense. Does
Mm-hmm.
that does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're going for
I
there.
kind of wanted to hack on it.
So,
It
so
seems
you're
like
you're you're basically trying to it's like um it's like using using BrightID to recover accounts that don't even necessarily use BrightID in the app, other than that they would respect the fact that you're using BrightID to
yeah,
recover your account.
yeah, I think essentially you just save a bunch of IDs from different apps into a singular Brad ID app, and then
Yeah.
you hash some data that recognizes which app it is, right? So you have like Discord colon the Discord ID or something like that. Obviously, like what would have to happen is the like you I think what I would do is make like a really easy plug and play React like hook or component.
Mm-hmm.
Just like send it out and say, hey, put this in your app if you want your data to be recoverable via Bright ID, and essentially it does all the work for them. Actually, you don't even need to be verified to use that feature as well, because you're just
Right.
looking at the same Bright ID. It's a base level feature that doesn't require
Exactly.
verification. It's kind of cool. I haven't really gotten far. I messaged you earlier to talk about this because I was like, just because I wanted to kind of hack something together on it. But it seems kind of cool. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's
it's
useful.
interesting. And yeah, so you would have like one app that manages as many of these different um like logins,
Yeah,
login permissions for like a bunch of different apps.
yeah.
So yeah.
And then what I would do just to avoid a backend, right, is you could actually just check the most recent two context IDs, right? So it has a context ID for the app you're trying to recover, and then the
Mhm.
most recent one will be the context ID linked that is the recovery app, and then you can just have a simple comparison, and then just tell the app, like let's say it's governed, just tell them, hey, this is the same person, and let them do with that information what they will, right? Whether they want to implement a new password or have them change their account or change their what's it called, Ethereum address or anything like that, right? So
So I missed the step that you just said about having another context ID that you use as a proof that
yeah,
this in person. So how does that work again?
so right, so every time you link, you're kind of adding a new,
Yeah.
you're adding a context ID onto the
Yeah.
chain. So my vision to avoid having to have an extra backend, right? It's all
Mhm.
through BrightID, is you have like some sort of hash data that's useful. Let's say like the app, the ID, and the timestamp, so that it's
Oh,
always
okay. So you prove because you know what went into the hash, that's the proof that you control that context ID or something.
yeah. So it'll contain just you'd have to manage keys for it, but it'll contain just the ID that you're trying to
Yeah.
recover, the app that the ID belongs to, and then maybe some like a timestamp that'll keep the hash different, right? So that
Okay.
it
And so
get
what you're
off.
saying is use adjacent. So like I link, what I would do is I would link an app, like link my Twitter account, and then right after it, link this hash that I can use to prove that I control that Twitter account.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that way I can go to Twitter at any point in time and be like, okay, so, well, now you run into some issues that you have to deal with when you're creating like a secure data vault, which is like, how do you revoke how do you revoke credentials, you as like the user? Like if you decide you don't want that in there anymore, how do you revoke it? Or if it's like been compromised or something like that, how do you revoke it? And then yeah.
The cool thing about if it's compromised is it doesn't really matter, right? Because like you have to scan it with your Bright ID, right? For it to ever say that you can recover this app, right?
Yeah.
So even if one of them gets compromised, it's actually not that big of a deal. Just don't scan the code for the compromise. Because like the way I see it is like Twitter is never, well, hopefully this is one of those things that Twitter would think is really cool and implement into Twitter itself. But like for the time being, Twitter is not going to pump in a Bright ID React component. But stuff like Govern would, and like small apps. I shouldn't say small, but like other apps would as well that use like that don't want users to lose their data just
Yeah.
because their account. It's an interesting like future proof of login kind of thing. I've been kind of jazzed on it a bit.
Yeah, maybe you could revoke by just putting in, or you could revoke or update just by putting in a newer one. So like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
so it would look through the list and look for the most recent one that you
Yeah,
put in.
I
But you
think
would, but what if someone compromised your Bright ID? I guess that doesn't matter because then it's almost like they're using your Bright ID to use this service. They can't, um, I don't know. I mean, they could temporarily, I guess, log in as you in the different services that you had if they like got access to your actually no, it's not access to your Bright ID. They would have to get access to like the front end where you're storing like the data that's going into these hashes on in your browser. So they'd have to get access to like your browser or something or your
yeah,
computer.
they'd have to get access to both your Bright ID and your Twitter to for it to actually be beneficial to them and like to open up everything or right.
Wouldn't they, well,
You need
wouldn't they have to have access to your browser to be able to use this? Because they don't actually, once you've linked, they don't need your Bright ID anymore to steal the ability to log in.
So
They just
my picture of this of that is just have like a 5 minute timeout for it, like a JWT timeout kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
okay, I see what
So
you're
you
saying.
just do something really short, like a minute, and then you have the user like you set the timestamp in that like hashed data to something like a minute, and then you allow that user to go and scan in that 1 minute, and then it's just like, oh, it's past due, so it doesn't work anymore. Um, it's kind of sweet. I think I think there's something here.
Right.
Um,
And so
I would I would say the big thing is just like putting it into a digestible like React component or something that just like lets people just throw it in their app essentially.
yeah. And so the benefit is just it's like I'm trying to explain to me, like, from an app's point of view and from a user's point of view, how it makes things easier than before, or better than before, more secure, easier,
Sure.
whatever it is.
I think the main thing would be it 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 removes the need for like uh I think the main thing we're challenging is recovery of your password via email or
Oh,
not
yes. Yeah.
recovery at all.
Right.
And I think a lot of companies spend a lot of money on like email recovery, so that might
Yeah.
be interesting as well. Um, but that's the main thing is like it's just better. I mean
Yeah.
it's more secure. It's like a million times more secure than like an email recovery.
Yeah. I mean, you could use it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you could use it instead of a password as well, right?
You definitely could. It's like yeah, it's kind of like I called it global recovery is what I called it, but you could
Right.
also use it as a password as well.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of websites now that are like, hey, you log in with your password, but since you probably don't remember your password, just log in with your email here. They don't even call it like recover your password anymore. It's just like log in with email. We'll send you a magic link. You can use your email to log in. So it
But
could be like,
I have a question.
instead of doing
When,
that, use
when
BrightID.
I use Magic Link, is
Yeah.
the company pay like I use Oculus, they use Magic Link every time,
Right.
but I don't even have, I don't believe that they offer another login option. Is Oculus paying Magic Link every time I do that?
Yeah.
I would think so. I mean, I don't know if they have a
Sure.
free tier, if I don't know like how much it costs, but yeah, they're using that. They're using a proprietary service to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, this would replace that, Phil.
I get so confused with that. I understand a lot of people have just like abysmal password setup things. I've used a password manager for many years, and my system's decent, I think. But I don't forget my passwords because they're all saved in my manager.
Right. And then you just
So,
have your one password that can unlock that.
so it seems like
This
to,
removes that
I mean,
actually.
that's the best way to do it. But that's still I mean, it's still not perfect.
oh wait, I guess
But it is the best way.
my thought is it's just it surprises me to like with the Magic Link, sort of I'm confused because I'm like, wait, so I'm now costing the company every time I log into their website.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't need to do that because I don't lose my password. I know my
Yeah,
password.
right. Yeah,
This
you
re-
can store it in the browser. Yeah.
this replaces that too, and it doesn't require the user to be verified either to use. It just requires having the BrightID app and linking. Well, can you link apps before you're verified, or did we change that?
Yeah, you can link apps before
Okay.
you. Well, no, you have to be
No, we
you
changed.
have to be verified, but what we can do is we can just say that the verification level is nothing.
Yeah.
That
Oh, yeah.
you just say you don't need a verification level for this.
Yeah. This would replace password managers too, especially if like I feel like Web3 is kind of annoying when when you're using different accounts and stuff.
Yeah.
This would allow for like you just drop in a React component. It tells you if this, Ethereum address is linked with this Ethereum address. Like if a user wanted to have like one big blob of data as themselves, right? Like
Yeah.
you could say, oh, this Ethereum address is linked to this Twitter, or this Twitter is linked to this you know YouTube, or you know what I mean. And then you could
Yeah. Yeah.
also say you're getting a bunch of data for BrightID about if when you start looking at who is verified, right? It's like now you have a whole blob of verified like IDs that are you can say, hey, this Twitter account and this Instagram account are actually one person, right?
Yeah. So that can be a bad thing.
Well, it's
But
only a user, it's only by user like
they have to want to do that, right? So
exactly.
yeah, it's not you don't yeah, you can use any bright ID. Well, I guess that's the weird thing is you might it might encourage people to use multiple bright IDs just to not just to avoid linking their different accounts. Because if you don't want to link your Twitter account to your
Yeah.
whatever else account, your GitHub account or something like that for some reason, then you make two. What you can do is make two bright IDs. Neither one of them is verified, and just use that.
I mean that I guess that's like not the worst. Is that bad? I don't know if that's bad.
I don't think it's bad.
No,
It's not something that we make easy for people to do.
mhm.
But it's I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's we just our Bright ID mobile app does not make it easy to have multiple. Like
Sure,
people who have done it in the past have used emulators to do it. Like the people, like the guy who showed us that he had like some number of fake Bright IDs, he was using an emulator to do it.
Okay.
Our app doesn't make it easy to do that because we just didn't see that as a normal use case. But if it does become a normal use case, we could make it easy for you to manage multiple Bright IDs in your app. There's nothing wrong with that inherently.
I think also too there is like like there's going back to the mission statement in Bright ID, which is like a unique human being is innately valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So like if your Bright IDs aren't verified, right? Like you're and maybe linking with verified accounts, you know, I don't know. I could see just off the top of my head, I could see like Twitter Blue isn't doing a great job of like proving that this person is a unique person, right? But if this person has, a YouTube video or something on one side,
Oh,
and then
right. Yeah. It's kind of
I
like the
think like
passport. It's like
yeah, it's
linking
a
them
passport, exactly.
together and you triangulate and you figure out that you've got a real person there.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
I actually don't agree with because I think that the more pieces of data that you allow for triangulation, also allows you to fractionalize yourself. So you can basically say, okay, I'm going to use these three pieces of data over here on this account, and then these three on this account, and these three on this account. And now you can have 10 accounts.
I don't
Each
think
look like they're a real person because they have multiple pieces of data, but now you've split yourself into 10. So I don't think for unique humanity it's good, but for privacy it can be good to do.
also I don't think like I think what I'm saying more is it's cool to maybe zero, like say with zero knowledge, like just say, yeah, these two accounts are owned by the same Bright ID. Not necessarily add.
Now that's nice, and that's what I
Yeah,
like
you know
about
what I
data
mean?
vault.
That's
Like an
cool.
encrypted data vault that you manage is you can do stuff like that. Like you could prove to if you wanted to prove to someone, you could
Yeah,
prove like yes, this Ethereum address and this Twitter account are both controlled by the same person.
you don't need to know anything about
Not
them.
even going to tell you like or you could without like revealing other things, so without revealing that openly to the world,
Mhm.
so you don't have to put out a tweet that says like this is my Ethereum address and this is my proof that it's my Ethereum address. You don't have to do something stupid like that. You can just prove it to the app in a way that they can't even you can even prove it to them in a way that they can't reprove it to someone else. It's only they're the only ones that can view that proof. They can't like take that and be like, oh, look what I found out. This address belongs to Vitalik. They can't do that.
Oh, yeah.
Only they get to see it. So there's some really cool features of a well-designed secure data vault.
Mhm.
So, but something I wanted to ask you is what's in the hash that
Yeah,
that we've been talking about? I mean, I
I
know it could be
agree.
anything.
I think it's just a stringified JSON blob, and
But
it's
it needs something like a nonce or a password in there. Probably not a nonce, but something more like a password, like like a random string in there, just to, or it could be if the yeah, just like some little bit of randomness in there to make it so that
it's hard to.
by you knowing the hash, you prove that that
Excuse me.
that it's you, that you're, by you knowing what generated that hash, you prove that you're the one that linked that data. So
So I
uh,
was thinking of just doing it like I maybe this isn't the most secure, but the way we do Discord bot is we just throw it in UUID, like a UUID v5. It has like a single string namespace, right? That just like hashes the Discord ID. Um, most IDs are public too, so that's like they're usually not very like they're not like a private
oh
uh
yeah,
thing. So I was just gonna do the same thing, but for like a blob of JSON instead, and then unhash it on the client or whatever when with like an environment variable, right? And just say, hey, this is this is what this data like this is the data we need. It has like Discord colon ID colon timestamp, right? And like Twitter colon ID colon timestamp. Does that
but didn't you want to have some proof in there that they so who are you sharing? Are you sharing this with Discord, right?
I
Like
think like
like
any app.
like the point of having that in there is to share it with Discord. Like only Discord is good. Discord is the only one that we're going to reveal the contents of the hash to, right? We're not going to publicly reveal the contents of that hash because
No,
you
oh
use
yeah.
a login to Discord with this, right?
No, yeah, it would be more for just like you get a private DM that says, "Hey, scan this in the BrightID app, right?" And you can recover your govern account or your whatever account that you asked for. Um, and it's not open to the to like the world to see.
Yeah, so it sounds like maybe that hash is never revealed. And if that's the case,
Hmm.
you could just like anyone looking at this from the outside, you could design it in such a way that anyone looking at it from the outside doesn't even know what services you're using. They
Yeah,
just using some services, and then only the service itself gets to use this recovery thing.
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think this is
Because you were also, I got confused because you were also talking about how you thought that this could be a way to like provably link a bunch of accounts together.
you
Um,
could. Good. Right.
you could, but then you'd have to design it a little differently. I mean, you could,
I
but
think what I was thinking with that is just because all the content. I mean, I don't know how crazy it'll get with like a bunch of context IDs in one endpoint, right? Like I don't know if there's a limit to the
no, it
base.
should be fine. Like
So
every time you log in, you add two more, basically, is what we're saying.
yeah, every time you recover or log in, yeah, exactly. So I was just thinking you can just loop through the like login array, and if you find the ID of like so like let's say you want to do like YouTube and govern or something, I don't know, some random pair of apps. Like you just want to say, yeah, these are the same two. You can just run through the array, unhashing like in the back end, unhashing each like context ID and say, okay, do these two IDs for YouTube and govern exist in this context ID blob? Yes. Okay, then they're linked.
Yeah. So I think if you want to keep it so that the app only looks at the most recent one for security, for their app, I think you do need to do something like say something like you were talking about putting in two back-to-back context IDs. So
Mhm.
you have like, it would say like YouTube, and then it would say like some context ID. That would be one context ID, and then the next one would be a hash. And then like the subsequent context ID, like the adjacent one right after it, would be a hash. So then it would know which hash it's supposed to check. And then because it has the clear text one that's saying that this is for YouTube, then it knows to only look at the most recent one, because otherwise you could provide a hash that's like deeply buried and they wouldn't know that there was a more recent YouTube that you had used or
Okay.
something.
I think I see. Yeah, because I think every hash includes a timeout timestamp, like a timeout, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the big one for like it won't let you recover, but you could still use that data as like, oh, this person owned this BrightID owned this account at some point in time, right? So therefore,
Yeah, it's a claim, but to verify that claim, I'm pretty sure you have to be the app, and then you have to look at the hash, and only the app we should only reveal the contents of the hash
right,
to the
right,
app. And so other people can see that you're claiming to own this YouTube account, but
exactly,
it could be fake. Only the app knows if it's real or not.
right, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, and
Yeah. I
I think
gotta
the
head out. Interesting hearing this technical discussion, and hope we can make it into something people can actually use.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm,
it is an interesting thing. See you, Philip.
CFO.
Um, so
One more
yeah, go
thing.
ahead.
Actually, I was just thinking of like the thing that brought me onto this was actually I was thinking about voting and like specifically in like I was like, well, if we have all these IDs in the Discord bot. We have like 10,000 people, Bright ID users. But I also was thinking about a Twitter bot and doing that as well, and just seeing with the and how cool it would be to have like a quadratic vote or some kind of vote with those 10,000 users, just to like, just to use the Bright ID technology for what it's good at, right? But the problem was that Twitter and Discord don't talk, so you
Yeah, right.
couldn't verify that one user hadn't already voted and stuff like that. So this was kind of the answer to that. But
Mhm.
I still think it's kind of cool that like the way it would work was you'd have to do it through DMs and have like you'd need a back end for it. But you could host like large quadratic votes for uh I mean at the beginning I was just thinking of throwing a chat GPT like question in, like a daily one that just gets like run on a cron job. It's like, hey, if you want to vote for this, go ahead. If not, you can unsubscribe from this vote. But we do a daily vote on just like whatever happens. And then I got to thinking, and I think we can actually there might be like a sales point here. When it comes to something like a like this is again this is definitely proliferating, but Nouns DAO put out their like custom nouns framework that you can like have essentially once a day you can purchase an NFT, like raffle an NFT off. You could raffle like a vote, like the ability to make a vote for all of Brad ID users to answer
Oh
essentially.
yeah.
And you could have it just once a day raffle off the NFT to give to like control speaking to like a mass, a
Mhm.
mass array of unique users for whatever you want. I mean, that might be an interesting. I don't know if people
That
would,
is very interesting.
but if
That
people
sounds
would ask
really
some
cool.
questions. Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds really
I was having a night, Adam. I was having a night. Okay,
cool.
I couldn't sleep, and this made it much harder because I was just like kind of going.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I don't
Yeah,
know exactly how that ties into this login and login recovery scheme, which I also think is a good idea. I think they're both good ideas. I'm not sure how, because basically what you want is you were saying that you wanted to be able to link users from a bunch or like
you
bring
just
users from a bunch of different platforms and make sure that they still only have one account. So you're bringing out together a bunch of Twitter users, bringing together a bunch of Discord users, and you want to make sure that someone's not using both their Discord and their Twitter account as like, so they're not doubling their vote that way. Did I get that part right?
yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Okay.
So that would require, so to do that, this is why the login comes in, because I was like, well, to do that, we would need to essentially append, like we would just start having to add Twitter IDs into the Discord bot ID, right? So that so that you know both. Right, you have like a back end with both IDs inside of it, right? Like an app that has Twitter IDs and Discord IDs, right? So that you could see if. But then I said, well, why not do it with like 5 more apps? Like,
Oh,
why?
yeah.
What's stopping? Just like knowing that, and then it comes to the login side of things, where it's like,
And so is the reason for this then so that you can have the voting happen on a bunch of different platforms? Is that why you
yeah,
need to link them together?
you could have it happen on Facebook, Twitter,
Okay, got it. And then
Discord,
aggregate the results from all those different platforms.
aggregate. Yeah, that
Okay.
doesn't exist right now. In
Yeah, yeah.
my opinion. That's like
I've never seen that. You're
that's
right.
really cool.
That would be really cool. So you
Yeah,
could have a poll that you could put on Twitter, Facebook, whatever else you want, Discord, and
yeah,
then just aggregates the results from all those places. That would be pretty sweet.
that's pretty sweet, man.
How you would display it on those different platforms, I don't know, because they typically have their own way
Yeah,
of aggregating the votes that you can't really hack into. You just have to use the one that they have, and it only looks at their own platform. So I'm not sure how you would display it other than having like like your own website that shows the aggregated results.
this is yeah, that's exactly what I came to, is just have like adapt the bot.brightid.org like front end to have like a page that has the vote on it,
Oh
and then,
yeah, yeah.
and then it uses like what I really like with voting web pages is when they have the metadata show a picture of what the vote's at. I don't know if you've ever seen that. um it's
What
basically like
metadata?
when like the embed, you don't actually have to click the link to see what the vote's at. The embed will like update
Oh
as
yeah, okay,
it
got it.
happens, and it's
Yeah,
pretty that makes it pretty seamless in terms of
yeah.
usability. um so this is where my mind's been. I mean, nothing's built. I say I've been hacking, but really like I have like
You've been mentally hacking,
I have a
hacking it out of
repo.
your mind.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do that too.
yeah, I
That,
was just going.
that's like cheaper than actually writing code. It's like write the code in your mind, run
Yeah,
the computer in your mind, see if it works. If it does, then write the code. Yeah,
exactly,
I
exactly.
do that too.
I will say too, another cool thing about the login thing is it works with the soulbound tokens we're talking about as well. Like it could also be applied to Ethereum address. I don't know what people would think about applying it to Ethereum addresses, but you could have Ethereum addresses inside of that
Sure.
login as well, and they could have those tokens. It all kind of fits together pretty seamlessly with
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That makes sense.
it's cool.
Okay. Cool. Well, I love these ideas. We should wrap up, but yeah, let me know any progress or any new thoughts you make on these ideas, because I love the direction you're going, and I think you did identify some things that could be like real products. Would like people would definitely pay to use them.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear this because I assumed that I was missing something and that you guys had already thought about doing this. You know what I mean, though? I just
No, this
so
is like one of these things. It's like
having
I think BrightID is low level enough that I've been regularly surprised by like ideas of like new ways to use it that I never thought of. So this is really cool.
yeah, I think if I were to build this global recovery, I think I could get the govern guys to implement it into their stack.
That'd
So
be awesome.
that'd be really cool. Yeah. Anyway, I know you got to go. Sorry about that.
No, this is great. Yeah, I appreciate it. I just don't want the call to go too long, but this has been good. I
Cool.
think we'll go ahead and end it now. Thank you everybody for coming if you made it this far. And
Peace.
yeah, we'll have another one of these in a couple of weeks. We'll probably have a special guest from Give Praise. So see you then. Bye.